Okay, we're all good to go. Thank you, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Darryl Houston. I'm the Mayor of the District Council of Yankalilla. I'd like to say a big thank you for everyone coming today to get informed about the situation. And I'd like to say a big thank you to all our CFS, MFS, SES, our council employees, and all the emergency services and volunteers that are working to keep our community safe at the moment. Start off, I'll hand over to Cameron Leary. He's the CFS Incident Controller, and he'll give us an update. But I'll just quickly also mention we do have Red Cross volunteers here in the back. Willie and Anne, put your hands up. If anyone wants to access Red Cross services or just have a chat, please feel free to do so. I'll hand over to Cameron now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming along, taking the time out of your day. I know that a lot of you have probably got jobs and businesses to be at, but I certainly appreciate you coming along so that we can give you an update and an insight into where we're at and where we're going with this incident. As you're aware, the Deep Creek fire began on Sunday evening, the 1st of February. And I wasn't involved initially, but I'm sure that most of you had some fairly rapid awareness of what was happening at this event. And certainly it was looking rather dour for some time. The efforts of crews and aviation and volunteers to try and protect properties and bring this to a resolution was quite challenging for you. We've been looking to have a community meeting. We looked at multiple locations for that to try and meet everybody's needs, but we wanted to do it as quickly as possible. So this was pulled together quite quickly yesterday. So thank you for being able to meet our timelines.
Sorry, everyone.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
A normal voice, a bit louder.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
much better.
Perfect. Thanks, Cam.
Someone has noted that the camera is now facing the crowd, not the separate. Yes.
All right. Thank you. We've sorted that. Hopefully we'll move on. And look, for the most latest details and information regarding the fire, CFS have a dedicated Deep Creek Fire webpage on their cfs.sa.gov.au site, so you can just go to that site and you'll see that come up, and if you click on that, it will provide you with the most up-to-date information. The fire currently is still uncontrolled. It's now burnt more than 3,700 hectares. It continues to burn on multiple fronts in steep inaccessible terrain. And overnight and during the day, our volunteers and crews have been working extensively on making sure that assets are protected and back-burning operations to consolidate our lines. And we appreciate that people have made some calls when they have seen fire or smoke that they were unsure of, and we've been able to react to those. So thank you for those calls you've made. Yesterday, SAPOL and the CFS fire investigators attended the fire, sourced the location of the incident, the origin. Unfortunately, that origin area, due to the fire behaviour, has probably been burnt several times, and their determination was that it is an undetermined cause, but they don't believe it is suspicious. Now, although the fire is predicted to remain erratic, pending the weather conditions, a perimeter has been created around the northwest side of the Deep Creek Fire towards Cape Jarvis. Efforts to the northeast are continuing, and that's certainly the smoke that you are seeing going up is the backburn that we've put in over the last couple of nights, and we're continuing to work on that, and just keep that quiet during the day and then burn during the night when it's much calmer and we can do it under our terms. And as you all know, much of that country that it's currently in is very inaccessible, and that is a challenge, and that is the reason why we're doing what we're doing and where we're doing it. I'm just going to give you a quick look at the map, and I know you won't be able to see it, but certainly feel free to come up afterwards and have a look at what we're trying to achieve. We've got a hashed area here that's already been burnt. Up the western side, across the northern side here currently, that's looking really good. I flew the fire on the way in, and I'm really comfortable with where that is at. I'm not saying there is not potential in there if you have bad weather conditions, but it's certainly, as every hour goes by, we are minimising the risks across that area. We're now working across Crossing Road, and then we're starting to swing down Napa Trail Road. Sorry if I get that pronunciation wrong. We've finished the section across the top here. We've just turned the corner this morning. It will be consolidation there during the day, and then continuance of that, and hopefully tonight we may get it right to the bottom. That is doing a really good job. The fire is backing back in, and as it backs in, the deeper it backs in, the less chance we've got of a potential fire coming back out of that under more severe conditions. So that's our main focus at the moment. We have resources working 24/7 right around this fire at all times. Anything that we see or is identified for us, we are dealing with it to try and make sure that there is minimal risk when we obviously start to get some changes in the weather. But the weather is now favoured for the next 3 or 4 days at least, which is a real huge bonus to us on this. Should that fire get out of that and move to the north, we have options identified as to where we will take action to bring it back under containment. We have some closer options. We have some larger options which they're not on the map, but they're certainly being identified, and we're working those up and looking at what we may need to do in those areas. Should the fire break out, to the north especially initially, our crews will be focusing on containment, but also on protection of assets, communities, and that they will be our priorities, will be assets and communities, and then containment as we move forward if we should have a breakout of the fire. Couple of key messages I'd like you to take away, and I'll probably say these a couple of times while I'm here. It doesn't matter whether you live a kilometre from the fire, you live 10 kilometres from it or 20 kilometres from it, you need to stay up to date. Please stay up to date. Have a plan, know what that plan is for yourself and your family, and if you get a message come through that says you need to take action, instigate that plan and take that action and do it early. That is my key message. If you have a plan to leave, if things in your area start, you get messages saying you could come under threat and that type of thing, enact your plan. If it's to leave, then leave. If you've chosen to stay and defend, you just need to make a decision about what you're going to do and then stick to that. Don't wait too long if you're going to leave, just leave. And And as I said, crews will do their best to try and defend properties, but we may not have enough trucks to cover everything. So please have a plan, stick to the plan. If you get messaging to say, you need to take action. All right. Some other key things that I've been asked to cover off on you. Currently, we've put those impacts together. And obviously, it's not just about impacts to properties, it's around other hazards that could be out there like asbestos, hazardous chemicals, solar panels, overhead power lines. All of those things have to be addressed, looked at, and then obviously dealt with. We have approximately 280 firefighters, 35 trucks, and 11 support vehicles have been working on the fire over the last 24 hours. We have crews from the CFS, the Metropolitan Fire Service, Department of Environment and Water, Forestry SA, FA from Victoria, and New South Wales RFS crews on that fire ground as well. And on Saturday, we'll have crews from Western Australia coming in to provide support as well. And hopefully, with those resources, we can allow some of the local people who've been out there, your volunteers, to take a break and have a rest. Closures on roads, or closures including roads. Deep Creek National Park and Talisker Conservation Park remain fully closed. Main South Road is now open to motorists. However, there are speed restrictions in some areas. Please stick to those. Talisker Road, Rankine Road, Three Bridges Road, Blowhole Beach, Kent Rock and Range Road West and Tapanapa Road remain closed. And if you visit the traffic dock, there's assessments done of all of those roads. And I'm hopeful that we'll see some of those starting to open in the very near future. Once again, we cannot allow you back onto those areas on those roads until we have dealt with any of the risks that we've identified. If we let you back in and a tree falls and there's an accident, somebody's injured or worse, then basically I wear the responsibility for that. So until I'm comfortable that we've addressed the identified issues, we've just got to keep those roads closed. We're certainly working to get them open as quickly as possible. We also have some power outages. We have the power network in with us today. They're starting to do assessments on that so that we can get power reinstated at the areas where there's no power as well. So once again, I'm hopeful that that will happen in the near future for you for those areas. We have our staging area at the showgrounds here. It's being used by aviation operations. Well, certainly I know that draws the interest of people. If you are coming to have a look, please stay back outside the boundaries of the grounds so that you're not putting any risk to yourselves or those operators. You're also going to notice smoke over the coming days. With the wind coming out of the southeast at the moment, it's going to push it across a number of areas. That smoke primarily now is coming from the uncontained fire edge and the backburn that we're putting in. So that's where that smoke is coming from, and you'll see that certainly probably for the next 2 or 3 days. And then once we start to consolidate that, smoke will start to dissipate. Wildlife, we've had reports of significant impacts on wildlife from the bushfire. PERSA has activated the SAVEM, South Australian Veterinary Emergency Management, in line with the State Emergency Management Plan, so they're starting to look at taking some action at incidents with wildlife that may need to be dealt with. For assistance with injured wildlife, please call SAVEM on 0477 055 233, and we can provide that information to you afterwards. And they also have their website. Properties in the area that have stock registers with PERSA have received hopefully initial contact from the department, and there's been no livestock impacts recorded that we're aware of at this point. Bushfire advice on caring for stock is available on the PERSA website as well, so if you go there you can find more information. A couple of, or another one of considerable concern to us. There were 3 instances of drones flying over and around the fire grounds. Initially at one of our fires in Port Lincoln, one at Tubarang, and recently at Ireland. If there is a drone in the sky, our firefighting aircraft have to put down on the ground, and they're not able to operate, they're not able to put water or anything on them and protect homes, any of that sort of thing. It is a safety risk. The last thing we need is one of our aviation resources having a collision with a zone. It's not going to work drones, so it's not going to end well. So we really ask people to ensure that you don't go out if you've got a drone and think, oh, I'm going to get some really cool shots here. What I call fire porn. It is a huge risk to us, and our legislation is around if we have a drone in or around our fire grounds, our aviation wing has to stop until that drone is removed. And look, it's disappointing to our firefighters obviously because they lose that asset. Our staff will have to deal with it, and the pilots who are out there, it puts their lives at risk as well. So that's the primary reason that we're saying keep the drones out of the areas.
Questions?
2 things to go, I think. No?
Questions?
Okay, questions I've been told? Questions? No, fire's not in the plantations.
Do you know if Raywood Nursery's been affected?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
What's the level of the water supply for the overhead planes? How critical is that?
I don't believe we have an issue with water sources at the moment for that. And likewise on the fire ground, we've been using bulk water tankers to supply our fire teams on the fire ground. And we've had somewhere around nearly 1,000 drops of water from an aircraft during this incident. That is a lot of flights and a lot of water. Tony here is going to speak in a moment, and he will cover the park closure side for you.
What would you identify as the single greatest risk to the containment of the fire?
The single greatest risk is if we get strong winds. And because of the terrain, the wind might be blowing from the southeast at our weather station. Sorry, it keeps cutting out a bit. But It could be blowing from 3 other directions on the fire ground because of the terrain, and that is the greatest risk we have.
Sorry, up the back.
Hi, I had a question from the cafes and local businesses on is there still more that they can be doing to support? Could you repeat the question? I can't hear us.
The question was, the local businesses are asking, is there more they can do to support? The feedback I've had is that the local businesses have gone far above and beyond. I was just talking to the pilot that brought me down here this morning, and he said the bakery has been absolutely fantastic. So I would assume that the other businesses have been meeting that as well. As, you know, thank you to all of those businesses for their support.
Being that location's important and as you stated, 10 kilometres, 5 kilometres, if there's a wind change, then that changes the whole ball game. I'm assuming that Second Valley residents and Warina residents should stay on high alert.
Exactly. You certainly need to, even in those locations, stay on alert, stay up to date, and take action if we put messaging out to you that you're potentially going to be threats into your area.
With farm fire units, there's probably a few down here that we're set up as well. And we're based around within 5 k's of here. So when should we get involved further down or sit here until what if it comes this way? It's a great question.
I'll ask Mr. Jackson to pass a comment on that for you.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, thank you. And look, farm fire units are absolutely crucial to our work. Like the ability that they have to get where we can't get out of their trucks is paramount to most of our operations. I would suggest that probably down here, you're better off to wait here for now until the fire does take a run, if it does take a run, sorry. And then that way we can know we've got some reserve up here as well. So doing an amazing job down there, but just hang here for now until, you know, or if the fire does break out up there.
So will we get, maybe on your website when you publish, if you need more of that resources, I mean, you know, a number of us are not in the CFS, and maybe we should be going forward, so maybe to give some indication, because we don't know, what's the trigger to head out, or if it's at, you know, Second Valley Forest, is that our trigger?
Yeah, look, we encourage anyone with a farm fire unit to get in touch with their local brigade so that then there is a local arrangement in place for how they let you know they need some help. So we would really encourage you to pop on down to your close to Yankalilla or down to the fire station, have a discussion with those guys there and say, hey, you know, we're keen to help, how can we put something in place to send us?
Yeah, okay.
Can you go into the two plans that you had sort of alluded to if the fire breaks the current containment line?
The 2 plans, if it breaks containment, the current one, will fall back to the key roads initially to try and hold it in those locations. If it gets into the forested area, then we have to fall back further because we're not going to be able to control it in the forested areas. So we've identified key roads that would be activated, as well as I said, ensuring that our primary response is to properties that are going to come under threat.
Yeah, the weather's good, the weekend coming up. Love tourists, especially if they spend money around here. What is being done to perhaps deter them coming down and having a sticky beat?
We've been doing some media work, and we've been putting information out about, you know, yes, it is weekend, and certainly tourism is a key thing, but we would encourage them to potentially maybe look elsewhere at the moment, rather than adding more people into locations where if we do have an outbreak of fire, then that's more bodies that we have to deal with. So we can't stop them from coming, but we're certainly saying it's probably not the best location in
know this is a how long's a piece of string sort of scenario, but like with bringing all the extra help in from interstate and stuff like that, is that more a case of trying to give local guys some relief, or is that more a sense of urgency that you're worried you can't keep it contained within the next 3 or 4 days of favourable weather?
Look, it's probably a little bit of both. We are struggling for resources. We've had a lot of people who have been involved now for a length of time. A number of the CF resources have spent time over the last 3 weeks or so in Victoria, sorry. So we've had an impact on the availability of resources. Bringing these extras in is to try and, yes, give us an extra capability, but certainly, while things are more moderate, allow our locals to have some time off. Because if you look at it, we're only still in early February, and you know, your fire season in South Australia generally runs through towards April. So we're mindful that, you know, there could be other events, and we need to still have availability of people.
In terms of your availability for water, just a general question is the aircraft and helicopters equipped to use the salt water, seawater if needed?
Could you repeat that question?
The question was, are the aircraft equipped to be able to utilise salt water if required? Yes, they can. However, they prefer not to because the salt and aluminium, which the aircraft are made out of, don't go well together, and it brings extra workload on them. But they certainly, you know, if they had to, they would use salt water. Okay, one more. I'll go to.
Probably asking you to repeat it a little bit, but given you're comfortable with the break on the northwest side, barring any severe weather changes, in the case of Second Valley, but it would apply for other ones, is it a reasonable summary to say that you're reasonably comfortable about the risk to that community, but there's no proof of complacency and we still need to stay with it?
Exactly. At the moment, I'm comfortable with where we're at. However, there is still potential in this fire ground, and you know, we've had crews driving around and they're saying, look, we're not seeing any smoke. That's fine, but you know, the things that generally bite us are a log that's laying there that is hot, is still smouldering, but it's not putting smoke off that's visible, and then we get a hot, windy day on it, and it'll flare up, and that's the one that potentially throws a spark out, and that breaks our containment. So we're comfortable with what we're seeing, but we're mindful that there is still potential in this fire, and that potential will remain, probably, deep into next week. We will still be concerned about potential for things to come out of that, and our focus is on the long term here. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You will see people working on this until ultimately there's probably substantial rain to assist.
Last question here.
I don't know if you can answer this, but what specific forces or factors would have to come together for us here to start being more concerned? Like, I'm talking, what would we look for with respect to the wind or heat or...
Look, primarily I think if we had extremely strong winds coming out of the south, the west, they would be issues, and warmer temperatures, they would be issues. Currently, we've got moderate winds out of the southeast. That's really in our favour because it's pushing what we're doing away from the edge that we're concerned about. One